We're
Just so you
live.
know
We're
what's
live.
up.
We're live.
We're a rescue team, not assassins. Now, what are we gonna do?
In a part of the world where there are no rules,
We pick up their trailer at the chopper, run them down, grab those hostages before anybody knows we were there. What do you mean we?
deep in the jungle, where nothing that lives is safe.
You lose it here, you're in a world of hurt.
Showtime, kid. Knock, knock.
An elite rescue squad
You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
is being led by the ultimate warrior.
We need the best. That's why you're here.
But now,
What's got Billy so spooked? There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
they're up against the ultimate enemy.
Holy Mother of God.
Nothing like it has ever been on Earth before.
She says the jungle just came alive and took him.
We cannot see it,
No blood, no bodies. We nothing.
but it sees the heat of our bodies and the heat of our fear.
Whatever it is out there, killed Hopper. And now it wants us.
It kills for pleasure.
He was skinned alive!
It hunts for sport.
He's killing us one at a time.
We're all gonna die.
But this time, it's picked the wrong man to hunt.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
20th Century Fox presents Arnold Schwarzenegger. Predator. The hunt begins Friday, June 12th at theaters everywhere.
You're goddamn right it does.
That was a little
yeah.
more low key than I expected for the Predator trailer. Not gonna lie.
It doesn't really spoil what the movie is, though. So that's, it sounds good.
Yeah, it gives you just enough.
Almost
right.
every. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say
no.
almost every good one-liner was in that trailer, though. I have to say
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They didn't say get to the chopper though.
true.
Or
True.
Stick around. Stick around.
Yeah, that is
Oh my
a good
God.
one.
Man, there are so many. Yeah, it felt like they were all there, but you're right. There's too many to keep track of.
And this will take you into a sexual tyrannosaurus.
I don't know if you guys hear it, by the way, but Audrey is headbutting the door trying to get into the room.
I can hear it.
There's some show we got.
I'm being hunted.
I thought you were going to introduce us.
Yeah, I was about to, and then we went. We had some banter. All right,
It's like the
welcome
5
to-
obstructions.
Welcome to Movie Night Extravaganza, episode 49. One more to go on New Year's Eve until 50. We're gonna, party on down live on Twitch on New Year's Eve because I don't have other plans. I am live, of course, with Jay Underworld, artiste, I guess, and comic book creator, and podcast producer, podcast co-host. How's it going?
Pretty good. I think this episode's going to bleed, and we're going to kill it.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. All right. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal and Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends.
Yeah, more than just host. I do a lot of other things as well. And let me be the first to say, I'm right here. Kill me. Do it now.
Kill me. Do it now.
What are you
Now,
waiting?
kill me. And of course, we are also joined by Tony Ash, Bass Master General, music gear guru, noted Predator scholar, and bass player for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Happy to be
Conan,
here.
Conan
our
wrote that.
bass
Conan
player.
wrote that bio in case it missed anything. I want to throw Conan under
figured-
the bus immediately.
I figured Conan wrote that.
And also continuing our bass player, alumni, like you're our third bass player on the show.
It's true.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it was like what Kira from Black Flag, Chris Murphy from Sloan, and Tony Ash. Pretty good.
That's pretty good company.
Yeah, we got a fourth one in the works. So
All the bases. Movie night extravaganza.
And
And of course, Erica Strout.
Movie based extravaganza.
Base movie extravaganza. Erica will be joining us later as well, just to add some intrigue to this show. So
I guess you could say we're based.
Yeah, for the third day in a row, Erica has been on podcasting with us 3 days. 3 days in a row.
told you she'd take to it. It is Forrest. That is so loud. Like that is like seriously. Like we can hear the thumping. Like it's crazy. I don't know what
it sounds like a kick drum or something.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody's tuning up some drums. Exactly.
She isn't. I mean, I don't think she's there anymore. Well, she might be. I don't know. She went crazy there for a second though. No, but it does feel like fucking Jurassic Park. Like I have like the door. I have a
It's got to have like the drink that's like.
Oh my God, she's got opposable thumbs. So one thing that I found interesting doing the research for this movie today, Predator, the movie that we're here to talk about. No, there's many things, but one of the things that I found most interesting about this, and I have two clips to go with this, but the first thing is that the original Predator creature that they had designed wasn't Stan Winston that designed it, who was the same guy that designed the everything for Aliens, which we had just talked about, like 2 weeks ago. I've lost track of time, but it's within the last 2 weeks that we talked about Aliens. Probably less than that, right? It's within the last week.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Aliens, yes. So Aliens was
time is a flat circle.
Alien was the beginning of the month, may have been 10 years ago for all we know.
Well, he didn't do Alien, he did Aliens.
I know.
And we watched that clip where he talked about designing everything for that, and designing the giant the giant mother queen alien for that movie.
Yeah.
So
sick.
So starting out with this clip, which is the first one, there's a so they had a really badly designed Predator, and I thought this was really funny because I guess they got it and they didn't expect it to be so small and like weird looking.
Well, then they had Van Damme in the costume, which didn't help because that man's tiny.
Yeah. Well, so that's in the next part of this, but the first part of this is the disappointment that they felt actually receiving the original Predator and realizing like how small and weird it was.
We never really saw the Predator, and that's one of the wonderful things about that movie. I mean, we saw, even when my character is shooting and the arm goes off and all that sort of stuff, what my character saw was this sort of apparition that looked like the plants, but he saw the movement.
When you design for visual effects, there are many more parameters that have to be considered than just the camera in action.
We have a red suit that he runs around in the jungle with, and we pull mats off of it. It's the full camouflage effect, which is made up of a bunch of concentric inlines, we call them. There'll be the film that created the Predator, the background, and what's inside the Predator. We're also doing the heat vision that it uses to see, so that the audience doesn't just see heat, which is kind of a disorienting image. We are shooting regular color film of the background and also a heat image all at the same time, and then combining them together later optically. So in order to do that, both cameras have to see from the same perspective, which we accomplish with the beam splitter, so that the audience knows what they're looking at, and yet at the same time you can see a very startling and spooky image of what the predator sees.
So that then when those glasses come down, if you're real close to the camera, actually, we have a lovely little guy who comes to us from the optical house in New York. He takes measurements of everything, and the angles and this and that, and the he's got a protractor alongside the camera and a surveyor's transit, and he checks absolutely everything. He says, "No, you can't shoot that. You can't shoot that." And he runs up and measures this and measures that, and 3 hours later, he says, "All right, maybe you can try it."
And that requires sometimes 6 hours to shoot 1 3-second cut.
We had to go off and start shooting the movie, and they were late turning out the predator, and we were all desperately anticipating. It's coming. It's coming. Right? It's coming. It's here today. No, tomorrow. Finally, the day it arrived, and they took the crowbars and pried it open and opened it and lifted it out of the box, and we all looked at each other and said, "Oh, are we in trouble?"
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you shoot it from a low angle up, it would look bigger. It just was kind of like underwhelming.
The original Predator was not the Predator that you saw. The original Predator was a red figure with one eye in the middle on kind of stilts that on wires and so on.
I just remember standing there and looking across through the trees, and there's this giant red thing coming like this, like just exactly what we had not been trying not to have, because it was impossible to move, and it was terrible. I shot a shot, 2 shots with the damn thing, and just sent it back to the studio saying, "You really don't want us to continue with this, do you?" And they looked at it and said, "Nope, wait, stop."
We knew the production was going to have to shut down when we ran out of money. And it was one of those fortunate things that Larry Gordon was on board as a producer, because he was there to protect the financial integrity of the picture. In other words, he was there to beat somebody up to get us more money.
Solid job. I'd volunteer for that.
But yeah, that's hilarious. Like looking at the actual costume they had.
Can you imagine how bummed they like?
Yeah,
that blows.
It looks like the dancing. It looks like the dancing lobster from like that Nickelodeon, like Amanda show or whatever. When I was a kid, they had like They get the people in the lobster costumes that were like. I wonder if that's where they got inspired for that bit.
And I think one of you all mentioned it before the video, but wasn't Jean-Claude Van Damme the guy in the red suit running around? Okay.
And he was just like, "Director, I would like to do more kickboxing with Arnold Schwarzenegger."
It's all a vehicle to get his kickboxing in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they're just like, "No, this isn't working out." He was like begging for like more fighting scenes between him and Schwarzenegger now, if you watch and don't watch it, Iron Mask, where he has a fight scene with Jackie Chan. It was convincing, but that's because Schwarzenegger spent years learning how to fight. And can fake it well enough to go up against Jackie Chan, who's also great at helping choreograph everything. So that's, but like back then, like Schwarzenegger could barely move because he was just so bulky. If you watch a lot of the Conan films, like he could barely swing that sword around because his muscles kept getting in the way.
Yeah, that was like peak bodybuilding Schwarzenegger. So,
I mean, Conan the Destroyer more so because the director really wanted to show off his muscles, whereas Conan the Barbarian, he actually kind of like slimmed down a bit, if you notice. Like he's still broad and big and everything, but like it's not like the muscles aren't like those round bulbous things that they are in Conan the Destroyer.
Musculature expert J. Andrew World speaks in.
Yes, yeah, I've which actually kind of makes sense because Schwarzenegger always saw Conan as more of a like somebody who could move a little bit better and not having the larger muscles like he does in Predator. But in Predator, that's because everybody was just like trying to, it was a dick measuring contest, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And it was all the guys were trying to see who could like lift the most weights and who could run the furthest because like the schedule was grueling. I don't know if you have a clip of that.
There's a story in this making of documentary, and I clipped part of it where Jesse Ventura, I guess, and Arnold Schwarzenegger just went back and forth in the gym constantly. And at one point, like Arnold was like, one of them suggested like measuring each other's arms with a fucking tape measure to see which one was bigger. And Arnold claims that like he let him get like appear to win, which I mean I don't really believe it. He's like, I let him appear to win, but my arms were two inches bigger or something. Like,
of course.
So I do.
Sounds like Arnold.
That Arnold,
my former governor.
Yeah. What a guy! What a guy!
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Like, yeah, he sexually harasses women all the time. There's a great video of him in like Brazil back in like the late 70s where he's like hitting on this woman. She has like no interest on him, and like 3 guys had to like cart him away because he was drunk and kept like grabbing her ass. But like that's just par for the course with him.
But at least you really do have to say though, at least he was a terrible governor. See, you thought I was going to say the different, huh? I say, as detestable of a human being as he has been, he seems to have had his post-political career seems to be, he seems to be doing some good. So that's something. And honestly, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of him in this movie even a little bit. His portrayal of Dutch is fantastic, and I would not want to imagine anyone else in that role. Like, it's perfect.
Oh, not at all. Yeah,
wouldn't
it would
be
be so weird. Yeah.
Yeah, Stallone couldn't have done this movie.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, like, can you imagine Sylvester Stallone as Dutch?
No
That would be terrible.
Yeah,
God awful.
No way.
Although
there's something lovable. There's
weird.
something very lovable about Arnold Schwarzenegger in every movie that he's in. Really, you know what I mean? Like, it's never. I mean, as big as he is, and as like bulky as he is in a lot of these movies, like there's something that's like intrinsically like almost like adorable about his.
It's
the way
the dad
like his
jokes
portrayal of
combined with like his the way he narrates the director's commentary. It's hilarious because he's just like, all right, in this scene we're going to you see the predator and he's actually an alien from another planet. Like,
thanks Arnie.
Like, obviously they are hilarious because like it's seriously like occasionally you'll get something good out of it. Most of it is just him narrating the most, he's just Captain Obvious.
Yeah. Well, and he's coming all the time, as we know from Pumping Iron. It's like, I'm coming all the time.
But there's also, the political side of it, I guess, is like in the same way that Trump is kind of like this ghoulish reality TV person who, it's kind of like the reality TV-ization, I guess, of politics, where, it's a guy yelling at the camera being like, in the same way like the WWE is, where it's like a guy yelling, like the early part of Trump's, I mean, like pre-presidency Trump anyway, it's like, these like really shitty phone videos of just Trump being like, I'm going to get in there and give you such a good deal. And in the same way, Arnold Schwarzenegger like has that same kind of weird, like kind of almost campy energy, I guess, to it. Like where it's like,
well, I think that you're dead on, because that's actually what I was going to jump into, in the fact that like he was a terrible governor, but that's just because the people that he surrounded himself with to actually do the work were all Pete Wilson's people. So they're all just a bunch of like, doctrinaire, like hardline Republicans, which, but the way he campaigned, like he appropriated lines from Network in the recall election. We could do a whole show just on the recall election, because it was astounding. I'm not even remotely close to it, Andy. Don't interrupt me. Okay. Hold on. But like the thing people don't realize is that he was not ideological, really, because ultimately like his personal politics are probably closer to like mainstream liberal, right? Like maybe a little bit Rockefeller Republican, but he didn't really give a shit. All he wanted was the prestige. Like he married a Kennedy, right? Like and like he wanted to, like he had it in his personal story that he was going to be president someday. He didn't actually give a damn about the policy, and therein lies the problems, which is why his post gubernatorial world has been better, and of course instantly rehabilitated by liberals. Instantly, like Like, oh, he's the best. I'm like, I'm sorry, did you live in this fucking state while this asshole was running it? Because he did like maybe 2 things well, and that's out of like 2 million.
And his exit speech was fantastic, where he was talking about climate change.
Well, because that's something he cares about.
Yeah, no,
he actually cares about.
Yeah, he
and,
does.
Like, that
he
show.
does. I mean, he changed his Humvees, because remember he really loved Humvees.
Right.
After
him and Neil Young, they both converted them to like biodiesel or something.
Yeah, which
right?
you know,
get to the Hummer.
And I mean, like he while he was married to Maria, he had a house in the Berkshires that was occasionally he'd stay there. You could only access it through one road, and if it got washed out, you're stuck there. And occasionally people in town would be like, oh, Arnold's in town. I never got to see him though, so sadly.
Well, he was also boning down with the housekeeper too while that was going on, but that's a different podcast. So
before, after, and during, yes.
So you guys might have more to speak to on that. I just want to point out that that's the first time I ever saw the initial proposed Predator, and like I'm just blown away by how much it sucks. Like I would think
it literally looks like a lobster costume. Like it looks like a kid on Halloween that's put on like a lobster costume. It's like
I'm a lobster.
Dressed as fucking Zoidberg from Futurama. Like
yeah, it's like I mean Tony and I have both seen this movie like a lot, and
oh yeah,
and I feel like I knew a lot about it, but I never saw that, and that is just stunningly bad character design. Like that's just like wow.
It's very 80s
though. No, I mean it looks like it would be like it would be in a Full Moon movie or something, right? Like with the Guyver or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yes. Fantastic comment. Yes, thank you.
No, this is the second one of these, and this is the good Predator costume. After they had,
we love him, folks.
After they hired Stan Winston, who I think really does amazing work. We talked about it in Aliens, but then also like Jurassic Park, which I don't know. I'm thinking about this week because well, he's done tons of stuff, but I was thinking about it when we did Aliens because the same.
I thought you were say when the dog was trying to gain entry into your room.
Well,
which also
that too. No, that too. But I started thinking about Jurassic Park this week because when we watched Aliens, I was thinking about that head turn and the same way that the body of the the body of the Queen is the same as kind of the Velociraptors and well the T-Rex really, I guess, in Jurassic Park.
And then we went to Stan Winston. It was wonderful.
You're probably wondering why we brought you here today. Basically, what we're doing is making monsters. That's what we do, and we do it well.
Stan had just done this before, and he knew how to go about it, and it was just a very different experience working with it.
Joel Silver contacted me, and then I met with John McTiernan. And if I recollect, I believe it was Arnold that recommended that they contact me because, of course, Arnold and I had worked together on The Terminator and have remained very close friends ever since.
What the hell are you?
The creature design evolved given the springboard of the Rastafarian warrior that I had seen the drawing of that Joel had on an airplane flying to Japan with Jim Cameron sitting next to me. And while I was on this airplane flight to Japan, I was sketching concepts for the Predator. Jim Cameron looked over to me and says, I always wanted to see something with mandibles. And I went, oh, really? Well, so what?
I think Stan Winston gave the Predator a great look. He came up with that unique hair design, came up with those jowls. He really created an indelible monster.
He was going to be a warrior and a humanoid, muscled out warrior. And guys in the studio had known of Kevin Peter Hall and was just finishing suit work on Harry and the Hendersons at the exact same time. And I believe Kevin was somewhere on the 7-foot range. Immediately, the concept became, let's get Kevin, who can, in fact, work in a suit, who is an actor, who can create a performance, can create a character. And here is a guy who is huge, and next to Arnold would make Arnold look like a peanut.
I saw them go by with this big mattress. They went into Kevin's room, so he could have 2 big queen-size beds, and he just slept across both of them because he was so big.
And he was just some big guy in costume. I mean, the way he moved and the menace, and he took things off, you know. I just thought he was totally brilliant.
The design of this Predator is really wonderful, and the concept of the character and hunting down Arnold is fun. So there's already the incentive to get into it because, you know, you're going to be going after Arnold Schwarzenegger. But on top of all of that, there's creating a personality that the audience can relate to, you know, because without it, then it's just something from somewhere else. Whereas this is a real conflict, and it's real important in this movie that the audience get a sense of who Arnold is and a sense of this evil force that is chasing him down.
Because he suffered so long in the damn suit, I had to make sure that he got his face actually on screen.
What the? I've always wanted to play a heavy, and this is an excellent heavy.
No joke. By the way, he was also in Misfits of Science, if anybody.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like,
I know Andy remembers that show, but if any of the rest of you remember that show.
Such a great actor, too.
Erica!
Hello.
Hello.
I appreciate y'all's patience. Sorry for being
It's
late.
okay. We never stopped streaming last night. This is just a continuation. We're just on and off.
Yeah.
It's all one big stream, really.
Isn't that
Yeah,
just life, though? Life is just, you know, one big stream.
Exactly.
But yeah, Kevin Peter Hall was also like he was in doing a bit of TV work too.
227, I think he was on, right?
Yep, he was a regular on 227, and of course, Misfits of Science, where he was funny, and he was like there was a sincerity to his character that like really made it work, because he didn't want to be tall anymore. So
yeah, obscure 80s sci-fi show. I knew Andy had that on fucking lock. That was
I remember that show quite well, and my grandfather mocking me for that show.
Damn, harsh toke, Grandpa.
Oh, he was the worst. He hated guys with long hair and black people. So
It was a different generation, different time, I suppose.
Yeah, although he did serve in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. So there's that.
Wow.
All at the same time? No.
It's amazing.
It's funny.
The multiverse.
I feel like people talk about. I have the impression that folks in the military tend to like lean towards the conservative side of the political spectrum, but I've also heard people say that military folk tend to be more liberal.
Depends.
It used to be that it was more apolitical, but yeah, the answer there is basically yes, it depends. And it used to be that like it was considered gauche to even like talk about it. And that, of course, has changed in the last like 15, 20 years.
Because I remember my grandfather didn't used to talk about politics, and then he became a Fox News conservative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, down to like doing crazy things like giving my cousin a gun. Yeah, she was thinking of becoming a security guard. She gives him a gun and like didn't know how to use it. And fortunately, there were no bullets in it, but she accidentally fired it. Like as she was taking it out of the box.
Oh. Yeah, good thing it wasn't loaded.
Yeah.
And they blamed goddamn Alec Baldwin for that one. Just kidding.
But it was my cousin.
That's a whole other thing. Oh, that was your cousin on that set with Alec Baldwin?
Yeah. No, my cousin was,
shooting guns off. Sorry.
Bay Area. this is my Bay Area fam. So
yeah.
They were shooting at Conan's friends.
Yeah, as one does. A couple of them I wanted to shoot at. Kevin Peter Hall is great as the Predator, by the way. He gives the Predator a sort of panache and character, frankly, that I feel is lacking.
Yeah.
And in all of the very much lesser sequels.
Well, he only did the one sequel.
Super charismatic guy to be stuck though in a seems like anyway like a super charismatic guy to be kind of placed in a suit where like you can't even like I don't know. Like it was cool seeing like what he actually looked like, and he seemed he just seemed very he seemed like a very charismatic actor.
No,
although I am pretty sure that in Predator 2 it was still Kevin Peter Hall, correct?
Yes,
yeah. Predator 2 I think is fine, but everything after that is, when I say way lesser sequels, that's the ones I'm referring to. Is literally
Gotcha.
I mean, Predator 2 is a lesser sequel, but it's
fine. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, totally.
It hits a lot of the same things that this one does, just not quite as good.
Hey, Erica, was there enough dudes in this for you doing dude stuff? Doing it up?
Just barely.
Yeah.
Just barely enough, dude.
Use a little more testosterone, perhaps.
Yeah.
I heard they had to get special film made with testosterone for this movie.
Right, that's what the heat film is. The stuff where you can just see the heat from the bodies.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is,
16 millimeter wasn't enough millimeter. You know, they had to keep adding to it.
Not about the size of the film, my friend. Anyway,
isn't it?
The funny thing is, they actually had to hire a guy to cool down the trees when they were shooting that. That was actually a job on set. It was like a tree cooler.
What a job!
Oh yeah, because they didn't want the forest to get set on fire, right?
Tree cooler.
Yeah.
Present.
I mean, that sounds.
You know, they act like the tree cooler business, you know, is a big boys club. But the truth is, the tree cooler business, you know, it's all about who you know, and it's all about what trees is cool. You know,
is that like a subsection of the Greensmen?
I have no clue, but like apparently because they're filming in Mexico, the heat vision kept like picking up all the heat around them, because anything above 93 degrees would like confuse the camera, which is why they ended up having to shoot both at the same time.
I think you're gonna say confuse the predator. Maybe that too. I don't know.
I feel like anything could confuse me if I'd been in that suit. I'd be very easily thrown off.
Yeah, and you know, it was like 100 degrees minimum there too. Just I can't imagine being in that fucking suit for days and days and days, just dying.
They have like the cast that wasn't in the suit already is complaining about the heat in this movie. Like that entire making of thing. Like being in the suit, I'm sure is fucking hell.
And I don't think he complained either that much.
I'm sure he didn't. He seemed like he had a fun time. Now that
his underwear and moved on with his life, you know.
Now that Erica is here, are you guys ready for Bobby Wynant? You know,
yes.
I want to watch the. You know, I couldn't. I was gonna wait till later on in the stream, but you know what? It's too good.
Bring it. The
so
queen.
I don't think Erica, you haven't been on an episode that we've talked about Bobby Wynant, right?
No, I'm.
I feel like she should have her own theme song, frankly. Like as much as we give her.
I don't know. Maybe the musician who's a co-host should do something about that.
The Bobby song. If she has her own song, though, she has to come on before she. You know, she's old, but
It's the law.
Yeah, no, she's in her 90s, and it's. I want to track her down and have her on the show.
Oh,
so Bobby Wynant is an interviewer from Texas, I think from Dallas, that
NBC Dallas.
Yeah, had a show that apparently somebody uploaded all of her, like whoever's working for her thing now, like uploaded every single interview that she's done. And for a lot of movies that we've done from the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, she's the only interviewer that you can find. But the thing is, she's ridiculously fucking awkward. Every interview that we've watched with her has been extremely fucking awkward. So it's kind of an amazing, it's an amazing because pretty much
sometimes she's openly hitting on the guest, which is great. It's in that the public access host Parks and Recreation sort of way. It's
The weird thing is, like NBC was like the best local news in the Dallas-Fort Worth area because I lived there for a while, and they touted it because their chief meteorologist was the guy who predicted the weather for D-Day. So like they had the talent.
How could you disprove that? I mean, okay, you know what? I don't care.
Was this the lady who asked Arnold Schwarzenegger if Maria Shriver made a certain face while she was watching Predator because she was kind of implying that Maria Shriver wouldn't know how movies works?
Maybe. I didn't see that part of it, but that sounds like something that she would ask.
Okay, well, let's go on this journey together then.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
there watching it, Arnold, I couldn't help but think this was not a fun movie for you to make. How could it be?
The way it always works in films is that the more fun it is for the audience to watch, and the more entertaining it is for the audience to watch, the more miserable it is for us actors to go through this whole experience of filming and making the film. It was a very torturous experience in many ways, because whenever you do a film in the jungle, you know already ahead of time what you're going to get into. You get into a lot of heat, humidity, very tough terrain, doing strange stunts that going over waterfalls and swimming with your gear on, and climbing up trees and rappelling down from helicopters and stuff like that. So you really have to prepare yourself physically really well, and then also do a lot of the work for the acting, the rehearsals and so on. So it wasn't an easy shoot, and it's very dangerous when you shoot with those explosives that we have in the film and all this action, and then being attacked by those weapons that this alien creature has. And so it was not easy. You're absolutely right.
I heard you say that you did your own stunt where you go over the waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first of all, how big and how high was the waterfall?
Well, waterfall was about 40 to 50 feet high. And what you do is, if the director wants to do one close-up shot of you being in front of the camera, actually going over so it makes it more believable, you do that one take. And then the rest of the takes, when it is not necessary to see you in it, you can let your stunt double do those scenes. So I did one fall, and the stunt double did 4 falls. And as a matter of fact, the 4th fall, he injured his knee, broke his knee, because he landed strange. I mean, it was not planned this way by any means, but he landed strange, and then he had to fly home.
Did you have other injuries during the shoot?
Well, we had the injuries like burns and stuff like that. I got dehydrated at one point, and I was in bed for 4 or 5 days. And I had intravenous feeding, and those are the kind of things that will creep up on you and will happen throughout, But there were a lot of injuries. There was no one of the stuntmen that came home without injuries.
But as far as serious injuries, nothing just debilitating.
No, it is sometimes you feel lucky that nothing happened to you, because the things that you do, one little mistake, and it could be, fatal. I mean, you could really wipe out from it. And so you have to really be careful and concentrate and have enough rest and so on in order to do some of the things that you do.
What is it that you maybe, say, 5-10 years from now aspire to do? Because it seems like everything you've ever wanted to do or dreamed of doing, you have done. So 10 years from now, what do you think you'll be doing?
Well, I have not done everything that I set out to do because there's a lot of different types of films that I still would like to do. I like to do, besides doing more action adventure films, I would like to do comedy, for instance. I love doing humorous things in films.
I also love how Bobby seems to think that making a movie is hanging out and doing cool stuff with your friends. Where it's like fun. What do you like? Fun.
I bet a lot of people think that, though. Honestly,
just hanging out.
Yeah.
Just like how some people think that they don't understand the concept of a writer on a movie or a script. They think, but it's like, yeah, that people wrote that. Mm-hmm.
No, they just got up there.
The Predator documentary.
Exactly, the documentary known as Predator.
Yeah, where everyone just hung out and I think it's weird that they don't show her face at all in that interview.
No, that's because
that was strange.
Because Forrest didn't take the time to cut the intercut the videos, because after that it's just her from her perspective and the same interview and the raw video.
Yeah, it's a do it yourself interview kit.
yeah, it's like 15 minutes, and like 7 minutes would be the interview with one camera, and then it's the same interview but with the camera focused on Bobby.
So, a lot of times it's her reconfiguring her questions. So
sometimes
she'll ask the question, and then it's a lot of times it's her is going, all right, let's go. Because they keep it going.
You've watched more than I have, but I've watched the a little bit of the I did the one for Long Kiss Goodnight, and the second part was just her sitting there. It was just the other camera angle.
Yeah,
that one was pretty tame, honestly. That
Awkward.
there's other ones that they're far rowdier, randier, more unprovoked. Like there's one. I mean, what was the one? She's like, I don't like this movie. Like it's like she starts off like that, and it's like, whoa, okay.
Alien?
It was Alien. It was
Yeah,
She didn't like Alien, but apparently really liked Predator, which is kind of a funny thing because I think that they're
weird.
similar. You know,
That's why they have a fight.
Maybe by the time Predator came around, she'd gotten used to Alien, and so that sort of primed her, even though she didn't like it initially.
Aliens versus Predator is about the battle for her heart.
Oh, I wish you were telling the truth right now.
one of them gets a 8 out of 10 from Bobby. The other one, gone. No more sequels.
0 stars.
But it's like all her, and as someone that does, spends a majority of the time interviewing people, like I both love her and she drives me fucking mental because the way she frames some of the questions is like, I'm like, what are you fucking doing? Like, what is that like the whole like, well, in 10 years, everything you've hoped to achieve. What? Like, is this a valedictorian question? Like, what are you asking Arnold Schwarzenegger of the movie Predator about now? But I love that he answers like he wants to do a comedy. I was like,
yeah. And then like the next year he did Twins.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it was only 1 year later, huh? Okay.
Yeah, that
I
was,
love to do
about that.
humorous things in film.
Right, I know.
I would like to do more of them.
Well, I think True Lies was later on too, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That was an action movie, but it was pretty funny. Like had some
Kindergarten
comedy in
Cop was sometime later too.
it. Yeah.
Yep. Last Action Hero.
Yeah. All of his
Also,
dreams have come
Shane
true.
Black was involved with that one too.
It really happened.
What about Jingle All the Way?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna watch that.
I forgot
again.
about that one.
I'm like, oh look, there's Jingle All the Way. I think I'm gonna watch Alienator.
I think I'm gonna watch literally anything else, is what I thought you were gonna say.
What do you think Alienator is?
Arnold, I thought you said you like doing.
Yeah.
I thought you said you like doing humorous things in film. What is this?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody told the writer apparently. Hey.
I remember watching that as a kid though, Jingle All the Way, and being like, I don't know, it was just at the video store because like at some point you would run out of stuff to watch at the video store that was like in certain sections that like a kid could watch. So I remember watching that and being like, I don't love this, but it's probably the first Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I watched though.
Wow.
Jingle All the Way?
Jingle All the Way. Well, yeah, I mean, like as a most Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, like as a kid, you can't watch them. So I'm talking about like when
they
I
were
was
making
like
rated R movies for kids back then. I was 10 years old. Like this was my 10th birthday, and I went to go see this movie in the theater. So there you go. Like back in the 80s, these rated R movies were made for kids. RoboCop, Predator, just about anything with Schwarzenegger, really. They were all kind of geared towards kids, and the advertising kind of showed it too. They always have those funny liners, one-liners. You got to go see it for those, seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger as a Russian going, "Who's Daddy Hattie?" Sign me up.
My dad always liked Schwarzenegger, I think, because he was one of those liberals that liked that he mentioned climate change occasionally. Because when I was I don't know how young I was at the time, but we had like George Pataki as governor in New York, and he was like he was like
college
the last
when George Pataki was governor.
Yeah, I was not. I was
guys
young
are different ages.
Yeah, but
yes, they are.
Which is why I'm saying fuck you to Forrest right now.
But no. So, but my dad was like an environmental, like a green architect. He did like sustainable design. So he really liked when Republicans would mention like environmental issues and climate change. And he was like one of those people that was like really, really into that. See, they're a Republican, but they're mentioning environmental issues. They're not doing anything about it, but they're mentioning it. And mentioning it is like, half the battle.
I mean, that's all Democrats want, really. Is just to mention the issue, not have any plans or ideas for it, but like, hey, acknowledge that it's there, and maybe one day we'll actually get to do something about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If the market incentivizes it, but if not, we had a good run.
Well, so having nothing to do with literally any of that and changing the subject completely and immediately, can we talk about how quotable this movie is and how many quotes have entered like the larger popular lexicon of the
Oh
world?
my god, yeah.
So many, right?
It's kind of unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, just there's so many just one-liners, quotes like throughout. It may be the king of one-liner movies, actually. I can't think of a better one. There's so many. What was that?
My favorite one, of course, is what's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
You
Dylan.
son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch. and then they do.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
I love that that's multiple memes now. That makes me so happy.
Yes. Oh, that's like an entire meme trend. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Schwarzenegger is saying in the interview that he wants to get into comedy. Like, he's already there with this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just from that opening scene, that's the funniest shit ever. I still laugh when I see that scene. So good.
Charlie said they only trusted Arnold with one sentence at a time for the dialogue.
Hey, it worked out well.
Well,
Play to your strengths.
Ended up being a good choice.
I mean, like he actually is a good actor. Have you seen Maggie? Sorry, I'm going to defend him in that movie because that's actually a really good film.
Maggie, I have not seen that.
He plays a father to a girl who gets bitten by a zombie, and she's slowly turning into a zombie, and he's gonna kill her whenever she becomes a zombie finally. And it is so good. I'm not gonna say anything more about the movie, but it is so good. And I was like crying, and I'm just like, what? No, Schwarzenegger movies shouldn't make me cry like this. What the hell? What the hell? Like this is a good drama. He's done some other stuff where like he's given good performances, but they weren't good movies. Like that one with the airliner crash where his family dies, and he's like plotting revenge, but then like it's really kind of a bittersweet movie, but it's not that good. And I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's still not that good. But like I said, he's good in it. But everybody else just is, like everything about the movie just isn't that good except for Schwarzenegger. And it's
thank God you thread jack this entire conversation for like 20 minutes to talk about it and can't remember it. But hey,
what do you guys think about the technological aspects of the Predator and the idea that like for some reason just putting mud over your body like confuses the his heat seeker and like part of it enough that like Arnold's just invisible to him and just looks like pretty much talks to the camera and just says just talks to the camera and just is like couldn't see me. Just so everybody knows, like just so that the audience knows, like, oh, Arnold's put mud on him and now he's camouflaged.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just had a really funny mental image of the tree coolers just rubbing mud all over trees throughout the entire, just walking around the forest like coating trees in mud.
Hey man, it's a union job.
Yeah,
it certainly is.
The movie's called Aftermath, by the way, if you actually want to see it. Like I said, Schwarzenegger's great. The movie,
So let the record show.
I'm waiting for the aftermath of this conversation.
I feel like the technological thing is about on par with the time, as far as
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to Bill Duke, who like is one of my favorite actors and is in this movie, and often gets overlooked. Who went on to direct movies like Sister Act 2.
I mean, this is decent.
Sister Act 2 or Sister Act also.
I think he just
Sister Act as well.
I think he did both actually.
Oh, okay.
I like Sister Act.
No, I mean Bill Duke's great. You can't complain about Bill Duke.
I remember being a kid and Harvey Keitel was in that and being like, yeah, Harvey Keitel's he's a badass.
But no, I always loved like the Bill Duke stare. So like I was very excited to have a chance to draw him today.
But yeah. So they kind of compare it though to like the heat seeker missile, right? Like in earlier in the movie, they're like, oh, it's a heat seeker missile, or
the heat vision thing you're talking about.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and then
I got
then
really
it turns out
distracted
that
by
it's like,
whatever that was.
and then it turns out, it's the Predator's heat seeking ability or whatever. Like his he's just kind of, which it kind of makes me wonder also, is the Predator character just kind of like some rich asshole on a different planet that's like, I've run out of things to hunt on this planet. Let me go try to find
Donald Trump Jr. of aliens or something.
I was
Jimmy John.
I was actually thinking about this earlier at work when I was thinking about this podcast episode tonight. And the Predator is essentially that dude wearing the camouflage hat, just like toting guns around in his pocket that you might run into at like Walmart or something.
Yeah.
Like the Predator is like the extraterrestrial, that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be clear.
And the thing is that
Bill Duke did not direct Sister Act 1. He only did Sister Act 2. Continue.
Once again, let the record show. Yes.
No, this is
but like
stuff right here.
it's a funny thing, right? Like nobody else.
Was
has
that what
any
you were
kind
looking up? That hold on, Forrest. Was that what you were looking up that whole time, Andy?
Yeah.
Good Lord. Okay. All right.
No, but like there's the technological. I mean, it kind of says something, I guess, about our own technological, our own technological gap between us and what we hunt, right? Like big game hunters going into like a nature preserve and they're like, oh, it has horns or something. You know what I mean? Like I can hunt a rhino because the rhino has a horn, and if the rhino runs at me like in the right way and I'm not ready, like I'll just get killed. But then you take a gun out and fucking shoot it, and it's like that's not anything equivalent. But in the same way, like it's like the Predator lands on Earth and is like, listen, if somebody grabs a gun and has a gun, like they're not going to be ready for this. Like they don't know that I have any of these weapons. But as long as they touch a gun, it's fair game. I'm here to hunt. Like, let them try.
Which by the way, Xander Berkeley, come on the show. We could talk about Air Force One, or actually a better movie.
He had that funny Twitter video where he's dressed as Santa. But I don't want to I want to actually have a conversation about Predator on this stream. I feel like we get distracted every episode. And
that would be excellent. That would be excellent if we could do that. I think people might want to hear that.
Well, I was trying to open up a conversation about Bill Duke, and y'all weren't jumping in, so I'm just like, okay, I'm bringing up Sister Act 2.
That's it. Sister, that's like the nuke, the football. You know what I mean? Like you're ready to fucking nuke somewhere. You're like, that's it. Sister Act 2. I'm pressing the button.
Pushing the Sister Act 2 button. Is it Sister Act TOO, like Sister Act as well?
It's just the number 2.
No, it's the number 2.
But there is a movie
there's a tagline. I think Back in the Habit.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
It's
a pretty good. It's a pretty good. Yeah. I don't like that one as much as I like the original Sister Act though at all.
See now,
it's not.
He's got me doing it
original
now.
was the
By the
best.
way, he's got me doing it now. Sorry, I didn't.
You guys want to watch the military training part of this? I was watching the making of, and I have a few clips from it, and this is talking about the this is the one that was talking about the basically dick measuring contest that went on during the filming of this. But
yes, please.
Okay.
Let the dick measuring commence.
Commence the dick measuring.
Oh, we had Gary Adolph Goldman. I nicknamed him Adolf.
It was a typical training for the way that Army soldiers move in the jungle, the way they deliver hand signals to one another.
Joel said, hey, Bill, how'd you like to go down and spend 8 weeks in Puerto Vallarta?
And we thought, oh, this will be cool. We'll go learn to be like soldiers, kind of move like soldiers. Actually, it was kind of miserable and awful, and I got bee stung, and I got this and that.
So their rehearsal period was, see you guys, you report to the truck in the morning, we're driving you 20 miles out, and you walk back.
Gary really, in my mind, made a lot of things work that weren't in script necessarily, but we had a real feeling and a sense of camaraderie and what we were after, and also a sense of the how to do.
With a really realistic selection of guns and a really good weapons advisor and a good military advisor, it lent an additional sense of realism.
We had to take in 1 week and teach these guys how to make themselves look like combat veteran special forces soldiers.
Jesse was a Navy SEAL. He didn't need the training. He cakewalked through the training. because he's such a tough guy, you know.
I'll put it this way: I wouldn't want to go in real with these guys, but I'll definitely do a film with them.
I know Jesse voiced that opinion a couple of times.
I don't agree with that.
First morning I was there, Arnold says, "Hey, we're going to go to the gym and work out."
There was a subtle sort of competition, I think.
Get up at 4 a.m. because you want that pump, but you don't want the other guys to see you getting that pump, because when you walk onto the set, and you look that good, it's got to be natural. You can't work out that hard. Nobody does. God just blessed you,
And so at 5:30 in the morning, Arnold's knocking on my door going, get up. We're going down to work out.
And they would run for an hour and a half. Just run the hills of Puerto Vallarta.
So I get up, go downstairs with them to work out, and they proceed to torture me.
They work out for another 20, 30 minutes. They eat breakfast and get on the bus and go up into the interior.
Arnold's going, more reps, more. You know what I mean? He goes, what are you, a wussy? Pick up that weight.
After we finished work, they would come back, I'm not exaggerating, and run another hour and work out for another hour, eat, and then go to bed.
Every once in a while, you'd walk in there, of course, and there'd be another guy or two guys over in the corner pushing some iron. And, I did a couple of times. I walked in there and said hi to them and looked around and said, what are you guys doing? And wow, man, you guys are really working hard. And walk out, go find a place to get some coffee, wait till they're gone, and then go in after they're gone. Give nothing away.
Well, 2 hours later, I couldn't move. I was completely unable, stiff, whatever, but not been more pain in my life. Arnold was taking great pleasure from this.
The biggest thrill for me was when we hit wardrobe, and I happened to view Arnold's wardrobe tape, and when my arms taped out 1 inch bigger than Mr. Olympia's, that made Jesse Ventura feel pretty good.
Well, I'm very happy about that, because then my joke worked. Because I told the wardrobe department they should tell him that, so I can bet him a bottle of champagne afterwards when he comes to the gym. He came to the gym 2 days later and he says, you know something, Arnold? We should measure our arms. Who has bigger arms? I said, of course we should. I said, let's bet a bottle of champagne. He says, of course we should. And then we measured it and my arm was 3 inches bigger than his.
What the fuck?
And he lost a bottle of champagne. So, the psychotic trips, they work on everybody, on bodybuilders and also on wrestlers. It was good.
Someone did a good job editing that. That was awesome.
That was great.
Never get in a prank war with Schwarzenegger, because he tricks Stallone to do Stop or Mom Will Shoot as a prank.
I like the thought that somebody, whoever was like putting this together, I feel like was like, hey, this person said you weren't, your arms were smaller. Do you have anything to say to that? And then they just
what? Yeah.
Sounds like some shit some dudes would do.
That should be, Erica, if you ever get on Letterboxd, that should be your review of this movie.
That's some shit some dudes would do.
And I guarantee it'd be very popular.
Ready to
guys. That's the last time I'll ever say that.
Because it is some shit some dudes would do, yeah.
Also, I think I don't know whether he was the producer or like I think he was one of the writers. The guy that apparently Arnold was just dragging around with him like to the gym. That was like, oh, that was the most pain I ever had in my whole life. Like, and he has a story about like getting dragged out of bed at like 5 a.m. with Arnold to go to the gym. Like, it's just some guy that's like working on the movie, and he's like, well, I guess I'm working out with Arnold Schwarzenegger now.
Hey, I'm in no shape to do it, but if Arnold was knocking on my door at like 5 a.m. going, let's go for a run, I'd be like, fuck it, okay.
Arnold, I'm just a tree cooler. Please.
I would only do that if he gave me a piggyback ride the whole time.
It is 5 a.m.
He would.
You will see, man. You will see, man.
Except he'd be having you in the front.
It's time to run for office. Get up.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for him to say something about that when that lady asked him what he was going to do over the next 5 to 10 years. Although it was later than that he.
It was later,
but still,
it is surprising that 2 successful gubernatorial runs and a failed state senate campaign came out of this movie directly.
And the third one, that's the failed state senate campaign, that Sonny I don't remember what his last name is, but
it's just Billy. Just call him Billy.
All right. Well, the one that's Billy. it's interesting that he ended up running because he saw Jesse Ventura do it successfully and he saw Arnold do it successfully, and then he decided, oh well, I'm going to become a conservative Republican.
I was in that movie too. Yeah, why can't I do this? It's like, dude, you're no Carl Weathers, man. Sunny Land.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna cut taxes.
It was in like, actually, I want to say it was like Kentucky, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, fascinating.
Apparently,
it's no Sister Act 2 as comments go, but hey, I do
apparently that guy also they had to hire for insurance purposes. I'm not exactly sure why, but they had to hire for insurance purposes like a bodyguard to make sure that he didn't fuck with anybody too much.
I actually heard that he was just kind of prone to starting shit. Like he would just go out and like start brawls and stuff. So he had to have that hired bodyguard to chill him out or like keep people from fucking him up, basically.
It sounds like the worst job.
I know.
Imagine having an insurance adjuster though. Imagine having an insurance adjuster or whatever, like write down like prone to starting shit. Like, listen, for insurance purposes, this is we've designated this as a prone to starting shit guy. So
it's cheaper for us to repurpose one of the tree coolers to just watch this dude than let him go off. Just hang out with this guy and make sure he doesn't get his ass kicked or like causing a property damage. Thank you. And
also, Jesse Ventura is kind of famous for having like a, you know what I mean, like a pretty like aggressive attitude towards stuff. So and like Arnold kind of seems like he is too. Like so being like the most prone to starting shit of anybody on this movie set kind of seems like almost like an achievement.
Well, maybe Bobby was right. Maybe it was just dudes in a jungle having fun, having fun with your friends.
There was an interview I remember about the time this movie came out where somebody said that they wanted Schwarzenegger to have somebody from the studio wanted Schwarzenegger to have a love scene in the movie, and he's like, "What am I supposed to do with Hannah?"
Oh, right.
Or the
There's a
Predator.
woman in this movie. I forgot.
There's one woman in this movie.
No, he goes, "What are we supposed to do? Go behind the tree and be like, hey, baby."
Also, they assume the whole movie. They assume the whole. You got to cool that tree down. It's too hot. It's too hot. For us.
I was just gonna say that's one way to cool down a tree.
No, but like one of the funniest parts of this movie also is they just kind of assume she can't speak English. So like when she finally does and like just answers Arnold's question, everyone's like, oh. Like
yeah, like I don't know what it was. And everybody's jaw hits the forest floor.
You got to keep the cards close to your vest. You know what I mean? Like and the ability to speak English is definitely one I think that on the most. Then the one guy that can speak Spanish like. Dies, and she's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm doing this.
Yes, named Poncho, which I always just thought was just horrible name.
But he's also like, he does like you wouldn't know that he was you wouldn't what I mean, like you wouldn't know that he was a Spanish speaking guy named Poncho. Like looking at what I mean, like he's like he's a white actor. Like it's kind of funny to have.
He just looks like a suburban dad dressed up like a military dude.
It's Archie Armstrong, man. Like that guy is like a noted character actor. He's been like that guy in so many different movies, both good and bad.
But I
like,
think
he doesn't seem like he'd be a Poncho.
So like he could pass for a Poncho.
All right,
pass me a Poncho.
But like the weird thing is like this movie right here, the black characters were treated pretty well, although they died at the same time. But the brown guys were like horrible stereotype. Well, specifically Billy, like was a horrible stereotype. He was the magical Indian guy. Which was hopefully they'll rectify in the new movie Prey, which is the 5th Predator movie,
and have a not magical. Indian guy.
Yeah, apparently it's about predators coming down in like the 1800s fighting with a Native American tribe.
Which is funny because
they are not going to rectify that if that's the plot of the movie.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's probably not going to solve that problem. But in the preview, Order in the Court, in the preview, which everyone but Erica saw, they mention for the first time ever on Earth. So I wonder if they're talking about that specific predator then, or if they just didn't give a shit and were trying to get people out to see the movie. I don't know, but
yeah, because in the movie, like she's just like, as I'm growing up, people disappear in the jungle, and people find skinned people like all the time. And
yeah, it makes it seem like the predator's like there for it's like on like the normal rotation for hunting.
Yeah, this is like their Africa, where they just go to South America and take out people.
Yeah, get some blood diamonds.
Yeah.
It does kind of, I mean, it has to be like the class dynamics of the predator based, like, and his his species. Like, he seems like he has to be that one rich asshole, like the one rich like colonizer asshole that's like, I'm going to this different place and I'm gonna hunt game. They're gonna pick up the gun and then I take my fucking laser, like my laser, and I just blow the head off and like, but I can't see mud, so I hope nobody uses any.
I hope nobody has mud on this planet. Yeah, that would be terrible.
So
I'm rock solid as long as you don't have any mud.
So I wonder what the predator was doing, like just like chilling in the woods, like before all the army guys showed up. Like, was he like the dude sitting in like, what do they call those things that like hunters sit in the woods and like wait for deer to pass by, like the tree stand or whatever? Yeah. Like he's just like, I just picture the predator just sitting there, just like chilling, like bored, just like, well, like for weeks.
He was like having a nice time. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's just like having a beer, just like, fuck, there's like, when's somebody gonna walk past here?
All these alien beer cans around the tree.
I was like, now that we're talking about this though, in the 1800s, I guess, like, I'm imagining him as like his Teddy Roosevelt, like he's like the Teddy Roosevelt of his species, and he's like, let us go in there. Like, well, not the British accent, but he's like, like I don't know. I've been listening to the Matt Christman like Hell of Presidents thing where they like. Teddy Roosevelt's like one of the first presidents that they have a voice for, and he has like that high pitch, like.
It reminds me of how you think a bald eagle is gonna sound, and then how a bald eagle actually sounds.
But that long ago, I can't help but feel like the quality of the microphones has way more to do with that than his actual voice.
And it's also like, I feel like people adopted this, like, sort of rat-a-tat-tat, like kind of like speaking style too, that like people,
it's called a mid-Atlantic accent. And it actually,
well, no, that's before, that predates the mid-Atlantic accent. But like I think Erica's right, because like the way you have to like speak in these things, because the mid-Atlantic accent wasn't a thing until radio was really proliferating.
But that's we're talking about kind of when it's the beginning of radio, like, you know what I mean, like
right, when the predator invented radio,
the predator invented radio, and then like but like before that, those microphones, you had to speak in a very high way. If you look at like and I know Conan can probably back me up on this, if you look up like history of like recordings, like the singers in the jazz age had to sing a very specific way, like a high nasally kind of way, to get their voice onto the recording, or else they just get drowned out by the other music.
And that's also has to do with the fact that a lot of those were 78s too.
Yeah.
And so it has to do with like the speed and also just the audio range for your average Victrola versus modern sound systems, things along those lines. So it's a combination of efforts, and basically it's whatever. Predator is a study of contrast, but I think that like we have a real chance here to see the predator maybe getting got a little bit by Native Americans, and okay, that could be cool, but then I also thought that the concepts for the last 3 or 4 of these freaking movies were cool too, and they weren't. But this one is awesome.
This RC person is saying that Edmund Morris said that Teddy Roosevelt had a high-pitched screechy voice. And that people made fun of him for it.
He did seem to have a high-pitched squeaky voice.
So maybe it was both.
Maybe he sorted that out because he could record his voice.
You had a podcast, the TR cast, and he just
Teddy Rexpin
constantly.
The Bull Moose Show. Anyway, so Predator, right?
Yeah.
Predator.
Yeah.
Jungles.
It's crazy. Dudes be duding.
Crazy.
How many times do you
All
think
right,
you've
here-
seen this film, Tony? How many times do you think? Like, give me a breakdown.
Oh my God. It's gotta be like 100. I mean, like, it's weird because I remember seeing it when I was about, when did it come out? Like 87?
87, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I would have been 7. So I didn't go to the theater and see it, but I probably saw it when I was about 8. And I don't know why. It's kind of like that junk food, like comfort food type of movie for me. Like if I put on Predator, I can just chill and watch it, and like I could recite it start to finish easily. But it's just one of those movies that just kind of makes me feel good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're like, thank God I'm not in that jungle.
Yeah.
Reminds me of my days as a tree cooler.
Yeah.
Other things, yeah. No, there's a whole thing about like watching movies or TV shows and music that you listen to because it makes you feel a certain way. It's like, you know, that's a whole thing that people I mean some people even go so far as to like get into ruts with it because of the emotional hits that they get when they're watching it. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the whole
whatever.
nostalgia thing too, right? Like the idea of like nostalgia bringing you back to a certain time period. Like, I mean, it's interesting.
Predators could be predators, and we'd have to worry about this wokeness and critical. Yeah,
and the thing is, too, is you got John McTiernan directing it, who went on to do Die Hard after this. This was John McTiernan's second film.
That's right, I forgot about
Interestingly enough, he did one film. Schwarzenegger saw that one movie, which I've never seen. And he liked what he did in it. And when he was putting this movie together, he's just like, let's hire John McTiernan. And John McTiernan, there's like an interview I saw somewhere where John McTiernan's like, I don't know what he saw in my first movie, but he apparently saw something he liked. But there's that beautiful tracking shot. And I think his first film had some tracking shots like that, where like, you know, you see the Arnold Schwarzenegger in the woods, the snake, and then, you know, the blood dripping down, but Schwarzenegger doesn't see the blood. And then you just follow that up to the dead body in the tree, which is such a beautiful shot. Like just, you know, because you didn't quite know what you were going to see.
Am I mistaken, or was there a different director initially who either got fired or left before John McTiernan came in?
It was actually the original Predator design. He was the original director.
John Claude Van Damme.
They're like, you suck. Get the fuck out of here. Peddle your papers elsewhere.
Take your lobster costume somewhere else.
Yeah, take that stuff back over to Boston. We don't need you here.
And John McTiernan ended up going to prison for the movie Rollerball.
What?
Yes, he apparently had a problem.
How do you
with
know all this stuff? Like what it was?
He's got Google open.
No, actually, I watched. There's a great video called "What the Fuck Happened to John McTiernan," and it kind of covers his career. And I watched that before we went on. So,
if he got run over by the rollerball, got flattened.
Yeah, no, he was having a problem with one of the producers. Hired somebody to spy on the producer. The FBI investigated him because of this, and he lied to the FBI. Was convicted, got a appeal, went to the appeal. The appeal went so badly that he got actually more charges put against him and actually went to prison this time. And that's how John McTiernan went to prison.
Wow.
All
How
I
long
hear
was he
is
in prison?
Only for like maybe a year tops, but it wasn't that long. You know,
all I
like a
hear
nice easy one.
is guy hires someone to spy on someone else. Government hires, government has people spying on him. And, it just seems like a lot of spying. Everyone involved should go to prison. That's it, including the FBI.
And everybody in Rollerball. I'm sorry, LL Cool J, I love you, but you got to go to prison for that movie.
What for the Halloween movie? Is that what she's talking about? I sort of spaced out for a minute. Sorry.
No, Rollerball.
Oh, Rollerball. Gotcha. Right.
This is about the location and filming actually in the jungle and how that process went. So getting us back on track to Predator and not Rollerball.
Thank you, Forrest.
and not any of the other John McTiernan movies. Predator isn't a Christmas movie. We'll talk about it when
Rollerball was a Christmas movie. Yes, as we all know.
Well, in an action movie, geography is tremendously important. Physical proximity or physical relationship is often at the center of a physical conflict.
We've spent whole days working on hillsides that were, like this, and I'm still walking around with a nearly broken wrist. I was climbing looking for a camera position, and the tree I was on broke and dropped me on my head. I think if you check with some of the other publicity people, you'll find there's a picture of the director sticking in a pile of rotten roots with his legs up, and that's it.
The physical thing every day, you don't find yourself even sitting down. I mean, we had to prop this chair up so I could sit straight, right? Standing, you can't stand anywhere that's flat. It's always on an angle on a hillside. So even between the shots, you still have to, it's still tension. It's always tension.
Visually, you've got to create that whole environment that will put people a little on edge.
It's a major minefield, and Don guided me through the minefield. I will be forever in his debt for that.
All the accoutrements of gripping equipment and lighting and all the rest of it have had to be hauled up and down hills endlessly.
Actually, very, very heavy real jungle is cinematically not very interesting because you can't see anything. Your horizon ends at about 4 feet. We would wind up going through and trimming out leaves, not doing any damage, trimming out leaves so that you could see through at some distance.
If you look at Predator just as a design of a film, it's extremely well designed.
We've had to use the environments that John and the producer selected for us and basically make those work.
And we've had to build some trees. We've built 4 or 5 trees out of styrofoam and fiberglass to try and get some of the scale back into the jungle, some of the big root systems and just the large trees that you don't find in these areas.
Shooting the raid on the Guerrilla encampment was a long, meticulous process. It's just so brilliantly done. I mean, that was one of the classic action scenes, one of the first and one of the big action scenes.
I killed one of the hostages. We move. Mac, Blaine, the nest. Billy, Pancho, the guard, Hawkins, Dylan, back up. As soon as they're set, I hit the field up.
Yeah, the challenge for me was conceptually, as far as the scope of the stunts, to what magnitude. Every stunt's been done, every application has been done. To me,
You think Kenny Rogers is jealous of his hair?
And action!
No one's going to have to teach me how to patrol through a jungle. Nobody's going to have to teach me how to take a sentry out. And nobody's going to have to teach me how to fire the most awesome weapon handheld the world has ever seen.
Oh my God. Or did you serve Jesse? We had no idea.
Jesse had that huge Gatling gun, which makes so very little sense.
I think it fires somewhere around the range of 3 to 5,000 rounds a minute.
When this thing went, it was like the people were all set with their cameras, but no one took a picture because it was like, and they all just stood there. The cameras came down, the mouths dropped open. It was like everyone just.
Oh man,
That guy's something else.
do you think is that just how he is? I mean, is he putting on a front, or does he really just?
Did you ever?
That's how he is. That 100%
He's just like that.
And I like the thought that maybe he brought like the Gatling gun from home. Like he was like, "Hey,
I got something I think we can use in this movie."
like this makes no sense for the plot of the movie." And he's like, "Listen,
he's got it.
I've been keeping this
private reserve.
Yeah, I've been saving this for a rainy day."
This is not my everyday armament, but it's a special occasion. So
the first I mean real like media editing job I had was until he passed away last year. For 3 years I worked for Michael Brooks on TMBS, and Michael got interviewed by him on his RT show, like Russia Today or whatever.
That's right. I forgot he had that show. Yeah.
Yeah. So Michael got to go on RT and actually like get interviewed by him about Lula da Silva, like the ex-president of Brazil, who had gotten locked up by the Bolsonaro government.
The thing about Lula is
it literally was like that. He was like, Michael, tell them about Lula and why he's in prison. And I don't know, it just the interviews up on YouTube still. Like I could play the first couple
if I remember right,
point,
he developed both like the monk loop and like the scraggly I own a record store maybe, or a bookstore, like kind of like old dude hair. The Skullet, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
But he also he's also one of the few mainstream politicians, I guess. I mean, for the time that he was, that got really into the fucking 9/11 conspiracy theories, like when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Which is probably why RT, which is funded by the Russian government, like hired him to do a show. Like obviously, like mainstream like US media companies aren't really gonna touch you when you're like the Building 7 guy. You know what I mean? Like the one mainstream politician that like gives credence to the 9/11 conspiracy theories. So, when it came time for him to have like a show on like a network, of course, that was the network that picked him up.
We shouldn't go too hard at RT because we did have one of their hosts as a former guest. And
no, I think RT kind of in some ways provides like an important service. Like it has a lot of people on that network that like US networks aren't necessarily going to pick up. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that I really like.
Yeah, they let Abby Martin kind of develop her voice. They gave Dan Martin the show for a while. They still got Redacted Tonight, which is for the most part pretty good.
Wasn't Larry King on RT for a while?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He was, and like RT has two different types of shows too. Like the shows where the creator owns the show, where basically RT is just a producer on the side, like they're getting it on the air, maybe giving some studio space, but they don't really have any kind of control on the show. And then there's shows that they actually control. And it's hard to tell the difference between the two of them, but usually depends on the personality. Larry King's show was something that Larry King owned. My understanding is Redacted
Siberia, you're on the air. Sorry.
So it's one of those things like it kind of drives me nuts the way liberals like have their hair set on fire about the show when about the channel when they have more important things to be worried about, like The Predator.
Exactly. They bring it all back home. Hey, Erica, I what do you think about the design of this film? Because they brought up that last clip Forrest played. I think they brought up a good point. That's a very well-designed film. And as someone that also, works at least tangentially with the industry, I think that might be a key to like its rewatchability, is the fact that just the whole world is created is like really well done.
Yeah.
Do you would agree with that?
I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's like the production designer, right? Who like kind of oversees all of that, making sure that it's all like everything visually is in place and like the sets are set up the right way and they're decorated. I don't know how much decorating there was in this, but I
think Jesse Ventura was decorating the whole area with bullets, frankly, looking at that last scene.
Although I did read a thing about how like towards the end where they're getting to the chopper, there are like plants that you can see in black plastic pots along the way that they didn't take out. They were just
oh man, I will have to watch for that next time I view the movie.
Yeah.
Fun thing about this movie, it's filmed in the same part in Mexico, and that same waterfall was filmed for the movie Gunman, which was, you can watch an episode of Bad Takes where we discuss that movie and go into depth about Narcos. So, with C. Derek Varn.
Nice.
There you go. So turn this off and go watch that, apparently. But
I think we'll still be streaming when they're done.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still going. Still going, actually.
No, I think that the production design is interesting. This is kind of in a contained universe because it's not, like they're in the jungle the entire time. Like they never really.
Not really. The country that they're in, which I'm blanking on the title of the country, is the same country Arnold Schwarzenegger invades in Commando. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is both Dutch in this movie and I can't believe I'm blanking on it. I did the freaking fan graphic novel of Commando. I did like Doesn't like 4 pages in that, and I'm blanking on his name and command.
No, I don't mean like movie wise.
Matrix is the name you're looking
Matrix, yes. I'm like, it's so obvious.
I mean the set is kind of almost like contained because they're kind of in the jungle the entire movie. You know what I mean? Like it's like they've kind of contained it within a universe. They kind of can design a certain way, and I mean you can see it with the fact that they've literally like decided, oh well, we're kind of gonna in some ways like almost terraform this. Like we're gonna cut down branches here, we're gonna add trees that aren't there, like you know what I mean, like add plants that aren't there. Like they've kind of they seem to have a lot of control over that part of it. So that I think makes the production design very interesting.
I kind of wonder if this opened up the filming in that town, that city, because multiple movies have been made there. Beyond Gunman in this movie. So I kind of wonder too, like if John McTiernan created like a little cottage industry in Mexico there.
They have great incentives, great filming incentive.
Lots of cocaine, easy to get.
I think that there's something about this that does have a repeat watchability, though, and I guess I should maybe save this for final thoughts. But I think that it's notable that I made a tag up for Letterboxd that says accidental cable watch that I watched all the way through, and it's maybe my only clever tag, by the way, because most of them are just like like whatever I watched it on, and
yeah, we get it. You're not that clever.
If we talk about it on this show, and this is the quintessential. Oh, Predator's on. Sick. I'll watch this. Like no matter if it's the ending, if it's at the beginning, I'll always watch it.
Yeah,
like
the same kind of
Day is another one. It
is the same kind of rewatchability. I think is like RoboCop, which
absolutely RoboCop.
They came out like the
I'll
same
always
year.
watch it. Aliens, Rosemary's Baby. I mean, there's so many of them where it's like, oh, it just seems like it's always on. It's like I will absolutely watch whatever of this I'm going to see right now.
Speaking of Letterboxd, do we want to do the Letterboxd one-liner?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Letterboxd, as I've mentioned, is a place for film. It's a social media community where people talk at, with, and to each other about movies and film, make friends, make enemies, make frenemies, talk about stuff they love, talk about stuff they hate, and also in the review section, you get some really fantastic, pithy, funny, observant, just downright bizarre reactions and reviews, most of which manifest themselves as one-liners. So the key to this long-running bit at this point is that I go through and there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's not necessarily people I know or anything along those lines. It's just ones that strike the fancy or I think would be good on the show. It's a bottom-up democracy in that way, and I kind of love it, as anarchic as it can be. And these are for the tonight's movie, Predator, 1987.
It's exclusively Conan's. It's exclusively Conan's secret friends. Don't let him fool you. No.
Jesse Ventura ain't got time to bleed, and I ain't got time to prattle on about how awesome this movie is when we've all seen it 1,000 times. 8 buckets of pure testosterone out of 10.
Then they give it a 3.5, which
that's Jason. This is I actually do know. He's would be awesome on the show actually. But yeah, I do have quibbles about the 3.5. Like 3.5, really? But he's a tough reviewer.
The 2-star one on this list is my favorite one out of all of them because I think it's funny. But
whoever had the idea to mash up slasher movies with roided out action movies deserves a Nobel Prize. Patrick Willems. That montage where Arnold is building a bunch of jungle traps while the Predator cleans some skulls is the reason movies were invented.
It's like Home Alone.
This is Home Alone in the jungle.
Yeah. It's really, that's all it is. Like Home Alone totally ripped this movie off.
Bro alone.
Watching Predator is like going to church. Your faith gets restored, your palate gets cleansed, and you're ready to re-enter the world feeling positive and renewed. Predator is a Bible. It's Colin.
I'll drink to that.
Of course. Dude. 5 stars.
All right, here's the one Forrest was talking about, by the way. Bullet pointed list. Be an expert hunter who has come to Earth to kill humans for sport. Be armed with technology they can't even dream of. Can't see human because they're covered in mud. Gets killed by big stick.
All right, so the reason that this is my favorite one out of this list with the 2 stars is because I imagine that it's like the Predator writing this. He's like, oh, that would never happen to me. I'd never get killed like that.
We're talking about his son, Predator Junior.
If I was a Predator, I would simply go to an area not covered in mud. Something like along those lines. Yeah.
By the way, one of my favorite genres of letterbox reviews is when someone's just like, because there's so many of them. When someone's just like, oh, this would never happen to me. Like,
yeah. I would take out the alien with one punch or something like that. Yeah. My grandfather finally picked a good movie to watch.
Finally, okay.
3.5 stars once again.
3.5 stars with grandparents as a tag, by the way.
What else? What does he normally pick? I wonder.
I would love to know that short story. Yeah.
It's
Arnold's arms.
It's exclusively Arnold's bodybuilding VHS tapes. That's all the grandfather picked. Yeah.
It's pumping iron supercut. Speaking of which, Arnold's arms are so big, man. WTF? Austin Cooper, 5 stars.
Well, he kind of did that on purpose.
You just can't let anyone see your pump.
Dylan, you son of a bitch. And then it's got the flexing emoji. Only 4 stars, though. That's best that did that one.
Yeah.
Again, this is maybe the wind got taken out of the sails from the earlier comment, but Home Alone, but in a forest.
Oh, sorry to ruin it for you.
Ryan M14.
Yeah, sorry, Ryan M14. Didn't mean to step on your joke.
And he's basically Ryan M15, you know.
I think he's gonna say, who's the famous joke stealer? What was it? Carlos Mencia? He's the Carlos Mencia of letterbox reviews.
Can you guys imagine if Joe Pesci had been in that suit instead of?
Oh man, maybe that may be the only thing that could make the movie better.
Joe Pesci as Predator.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the Predator is Joe Pesci sized too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just
right?
like,
yeah, he's not.
I'm here to rip out your spine.
You can bring out that lobster costume.
It's Joe. I was going to say it's Joe Pesci in the original.
I feel like Joe Pesci is probably like 5'3", like I am.
Oh yeah, he's a small man.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What the fuck? Where'd he go?" He's covered in the fucking mud.
I had to go to a fucking planet with mud. Why did I hunt on a planet with mud? It's fucking idiot over here. Just another reason not to join the military, folks. Aliens will steal your bones.
Oh.
Dante Regier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I didn't. That's specifically why I've never joined the military.
Yeah, that's the only reason why. I was like, you know what?
Severely worried about losing bones.
You know, when my youngest was like 2, I walked up and I squeezed her arm right between her bones, and I told them, "You don't have any bones." And so for the next 2 years, they were just like, "I wish I had bones." They could like join the military and be like, "I wish I had bones."
That's like when you trick it. That's like when you trick a kid and you're like, "Got your nose," and the kid thinks that like years later that you still have their nose. And you're like, "What the fuck? You took my nose,
I have no
never came
bones."
back."
Stupid ass kid. Letterboxd is a place for film. It is a social media forum. You can follow the show, which is Forrest Movie Night Extravaganza. I am on at Conan Neutron. Andrew is on there talking about how nobody has any bones right about now. Many of the guests of the show are also on Letterboxd. Please follow the show. And yeah, there you go. That's the one-liners.
The only movie that Andy's ever given a 5-star review to is Lovely Bones.
Sister Act 2. Oh
no, Lovely Bones. And he's like, finally some delicious fucking bones.
I thought you were gonna say The Bone Collector, by the way, but
yeah, that would have been better. But all right. Well, starting you know, counterclockwise or something here with Tony.
Winter's Bone also would work for that joke too.
Or you know, just the show Bones, you know, like it was that show that was on for a while. But starting with Tony, we do final thoughts, you know, whether it's kind of a final summary of the movie or just, you know, a sentence or two, you know, any final thoughts that you might have.
I mean, I don't know. I just think Predator's kind of a timeless movie. Like, it doesn't feel like it was made, you know, what, 30 something years ago.
Yeah.
How many? Like 35 years ago.
Pretty close.
It
Yeah.
just it just
34
doesn't.
years ago, I think.
Yeah, it just feels like a timeless movie, you know, and it's just fun. It's just a good like popcorn movie. I don't know. I mean, I never get tired of it. It's like hilarious. It's horrifying. It's fun. It's kind of cringy even in parts, but you know, I mean, it just has everything going for it. So thanks for having me on to talk about one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
Yeah.
Conan needed the secret friends on to back up his opinions on this one.
Yeah, and Audrey
Erica?
playing drums apparently this time.
Are we going clockwise? Am I next?
Well, I said counter. It's counter. I mean, it's counterclockwise, right? It's this direction.
Oh,
But no, Erica.
For me, it's clockwise if I'm next, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm happy to go next. I agree with Tony. I feel like this movie. I actually didn't see this movie until I don't know. It might have been like it was within the last 10 years. It was the first time I'd ever seen it, so it was not new, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it. And so I agree. I think it's timeless. I don't think it matters when you see it or how many times you see it. I think it's fully enjoyable. I think all that sweating and all the horrible things that happened to them in the jungle were worth it. That stuntman breaking his knee, you know.
Just friends having fun. Just friends having fun in the jungle.
No big deal.
Just guys being dudes.
Just some dudes rocking out in the woods.
Oh yeah, there are not enough dudes though in this movie. Definitely,
No.
not enough of them working on it. Not enough in it. Yeah,
such a chick flick.
yeah.
We get it.
Conan?
Romance. Yeah, I mean, so clearly one of the best rom-coms of all time, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is the best final girl. I think we all can agree on that. I think this is a fantastic film, eminently watchable, one of the paragons of the action movie. This is a big movie. This was a movie like everyone saw and knew, and it's good. And it's something where it's inventive, it's kind of crazy, it's weird. Is it over the top? Hell yeah, it is. Jesse Ventura's running around with a minigun, man. Are you kidding me? Of course. It's over the top. That's the point, asshole. Like, it works. I think the problem the problem with any of the sequels are very long and involved, but I think there's a certain placement for this movie and this time where it isn't really that self-aware, but it is like a little bit. Like you get into, and I'm astounded that like this wasn't half the show, but the fact that like, what is Dylan up to? I mean, this is like beyond Confessions of an Economic Hitman. This is straight up like coups and revolutions, overthrow of government, and we actually didn't talk about it, which I would have placed some money bet I would have lost on that. I also would have lost the amount of times we talked about Sister Act 2, but that's neither here nor there.
I wanted to Sister Act also now.
It kind of goes without saying, this time is during the. I mean, his name's literally Dutch, the same as like Reagan's part-time nickname. Like they're in the.
It's not
thing,
subtle.
Like,
The one he gave himself, right?
Yeah.
Or was it?
Yeah. That's the one he gave
I don't know.
himself.
He gave himself one of his nicknames.
It's Dutch. Dutch is the one he gave himself. But no, like it's. I mean, the interesting part about it is that they're kind of making reference to the fact that everybody's kind of just expendable throughout the entire movie. Like the CIA doesn't give a fuck. It's the United States government. I just feel like it's such it's such overt it's such overt text within this movie that touching on it kind of feels.
It's obvious. It's referenced in there's an arc to it like in the movie itself that like again is none so subtle. But I think it's amazing that it manages to be like a blockbuster action movie that also has like elements of horror to it. Effectively mixes and matches all those things. Deeply entertaining, eminently quotable, has a political viewpoint, but also more importantly has multiple meme-worthy quotes, scenes, and so on, and still manages to just be a good movie. There's a lot of movies that would achieve like maybe one or two of those things, but it manages to do all of those things. And like Is there going to be a Criterion collection of Predator? Probably not.
Oh, I hope so.
You know,
I wish.
I wish
my
in a
God.
better world. In a better world, there certainly would be.
It's also kind of it feels like three different movies. Like it feels like the beginning of it is this like, you know, this classic like CIA action team like rescue kind of movie where, you know, they're discovering stuff and they're going into it and they're blowing things up. And then the second part kind of feels like in the same way that Alien did, kind of feels like this slasher film. And then there's the third part where it's just, you know, Arnold versus Predator, where it's just like one of the classic like guy getting hunted fucking pictures. Like
like almost I would say the gold standard of it, really.
Yeah.
And again, you know, Home Alone notwithstanding, like there's very few movies that have done it better. And I think that it managed to do all three of those things really well, which is kind of astounding. And
it manages to transition between them pretty flawlessly. I mean, you know, of course, the flaw, the second and third is obviously just Arnold yelling, "Run, get to the chopper," and then, you know.
I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that like again, as I mentioned like way earlier, that like quotes and lines from this movie have become such an indelible part of our popular lexicon that we just think of them as part of culture. You know, I mean, it's also just fun to yell, like, you know, what are you doing? I'm right here. Kill me now. Do it. What are you waiting for? I mean, that's great. That's a great thing to yell if you're going to yell random shit. But yeah, get to the chopper. I mean, like, that's amazing.
That's
You know,
that's what
like-
Arnold yells at voters, California voters. What are you doing? Kill me now. Anyway, Andy, final thoughts.
Oh, I actually wasn't done because I got interrupted like
oh.
17 times as per normal, but that's fine. That's the show. The only thing about Predator that I think kind of sucks is that because it's, as Erica said, like a popcorn flick, right? It's very watchable, but it's a popcorn flick. It's watchable. You never get the kind of accolades when it's something that is for the masses, right? And it's a shame because it's actually a much smarter movie than a lot of people give it credit for. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like watching it. Thank you. Now I'm done.
All right. Well, Andy, final thoughts.
Well, I do know I really do want to actually do an episode of Bad Takes where we dig into the politics of the movie and talk with people from, you know, who's actually reported out of South America and kind of discuss that whole angle, because there is a lot to unpack there. And but beyond that, like it's still a fun movie. Like you can enjoy it without, you know, sitting there and spending hours unpacking. You know, that this is probably a piece of you know, funded by Cold War money from Washington to you know, it's because, you know, the Russians are you know, we got to stop them in South America before they invade America, and that's really important. You know,
but I mean, it's interesting that it's also the Russians and kind of American CIA guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of in the same thing. They kind of just gloss over. They're like, oh, something big must be happening here. But it's like the guerrilla camp seems to be multiple, like, you know, different factions within this guerrilla camp that are like all different intelligence agencies. Which is why it's like hard to kind of parse out.
I think you know, there's enough information there to kind of dig into it and explore with people who actually know the history, know the region, and you know how these things actually played out and whatnot. So,
but you wouldn't learn as much about tree coolers if you did that.
No, because that's what this is for, to discuss tree coolers and Sister Act 2.
What people really come for. That's what people really
want. Come for the tree cooler, stay for the Sister Act 2. But no, this movie is fantastic. Every single person who is in it, you know, you got Shane Black who has gone on to be like one of the most interesting writers and directors in Hollywood today, as you know, the first guy who gets killed by the Predator on screen. You got
tricked into going down there and right, like adding to the
you have like I said, Bill Duke, who's you know, absolutely amazing actor. Like anything he's in just elevates because of that stare he has. Like just the intensity he brings. I always love it whenever Bill Duke's on screen, even if it's a small part. It's always great. And you know, you can tell like him, Jesse Ventura and Schwarzenegger's rivalry, you know, runs across two movies, because then they almost immediately did Running Man, where Jesse Ventura is the antagonist in that too, and it's a lot of fun to see them. Bill Duke, by the way, is also in Commando. If you want to see more Schwarzenegger and Bill Duke together, and Shane Black strangely never did anything else with Schwarzenegger, as far as I can remember. But that's okay.
There's still time.
There's still time. Yeah, exactly.
It's too close together. Shane Black, Schwartz, that part of Schwarzenegger's name. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
honestly, I'd love to see something that they, what they could, we could cook up for him because Shane Black is pretty good most of the time, not all the time. I mean, there's Iron Man 3. There's the Predators or the Predator, whatever. No, the Predator. That was the one he did.
All right. Well, my final thought is, what's the matter? CIA got you pushing too many pencils.
I'm science fiction man.